let's look at our code here. You can see that we just dragged from the toolbar, if we look down in the main menu, we dragged the main menu onto our form here, as we did in the Windows Forms example. And then we have our component down here, and it's going to be here in the design area, not specifically on the form, but it is going to be visible here, as you can see. And you can just put that in as you wish, as we've already done. So we come in, you want to take a look at that video, the earlier videos, for more information on that. So as we slide down, you see we're using the system.drawing namespace. We're going to be creating a bitmap, system.drawing.bitmap as a private. These are our system user variables, the ones that I defined, that we're going to be using, not the ones that are going to be defined as we drag things onto the form, as you see here. All different types of menus, for example. We have a rectangle that we're going to use. We have a double variable that's called dCurZoom for the current zoom, which is 1. Anything less, of course, is going to be under 100%, and above is going to be above 100%. And we did that with the opacity when we went under 100%. We're going to create a size, and this is going to deal with our form. This is going to store an ordered pair of integers, and this is going to be working with your width and your height usually, like with a rectangle or with your form, for example. We have a string that's going to represent our file name, and then we can resize the form. And this is just our variable to say, has the form been resized? So that's a variable that we could use. Everything else are just the menu items there. A whole lot of menu items. That's all we have there. No other controls are going to be necessary. This is all going to be done dynamically at runtime. So as we slide down, we can see that we're going to have a whole bunch of, after the run, we have nothing really that we need to work with. Here, this is the generated code by Visual Studio. You can see all those menus are taken care of. You can see that that's the brunt of things here as we slide down. Menu, 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 menu. Just to show you. Very long. And then we get to our form settings that we need to work with. We're going to be working with the auto scroll, and this is going to enable auto scrolling for the form when it needs to create more room for itself with the scroll bars to allow it to be scrolled. And then the margin, the auto scroll margin, which is going to be set as well. And we've mentioned this in earlier videos. The minimum size would be the minimum size when you do auto scroll, how much is actually scrolled. The scale base is when you resize things. Based on that system drawing size, you have the X and Y coordinates. This is going to be basically the size that it's going to move from your horizontal and vertical size. So we've seen that as well. And additional things as well. We're just dealing with changing the color of the background, but you can also see that we're working with the client size, which is the client area. The form is enabled. We set the font and icon. We have a maximum size here that could be set. We have a set size that we can limit this to. You can look in the properties as well, so we don't even have to look here. And then you see our events here. Painting, we have a paint event here for our form, and that's going to have this method here that we're going to use as our event. And others. So we'll close that and let Visual Studio do what it does best. And we won't even have to look at that. So what we do is we have all our commands down here, a whole bunch of commands. At the end, this is where we toggle the menu like I mentioned earlier in the menu video. This is our form paint. This is going to, when we actually need to, this is going to check to see if an image is loaded. Image is our variable for our image that's going to get opened. If it's not null, then we're going to draw an image, and we're going to use the rectangle. Get that auto scroll position X. Get the auto scroll position Y, which is going to be able to set where the top left corner is going to be. And then it's going to set the width of our rectangle to be our zoom. If it's at 100%, it's going to be 1, so we don't have to zoom the image. This is going to increase the size of our image and stretch it for the width and the height. dCurZoom is going to be 1, so if it's 150 or 1.5, then it's going to increase that width and height as it needs to and cast to an integer. That's casting, as we know. and then it's going to just draw the image. And it will stretch, because if that's 0, 0, and this is going to be 5,000 times 5,000 or something like that, then it's going to stretch the image because it's a 3,000 by 2,000 image, for example. And then I check to see if we need to resize the form. If we do, then it will resize the form. You can see this later. I'll talk about it. This is the set form size. Nothing's in there, but if you wanted to reset the size and make it more appropriate for the image, you could do that within this area here. And that's it for painting. Now, the reason why we do that there and override that, that's going to paint whenever it needs to paint. Whenever we have an invalidated area, for example, this is when something gets brought over the image itself, we're going to paint to that area. And you can do things more efficiently if you wanted to. But when you do something like rotating counterclockwise, for example, you're going to need to do something called image.rotateFlip. This is going to allow us to rotate and or flip our image using this method, and then we're going to pass one of these enumerations here. You can see that, the flip type. And you can rotate. You can rotate a certain degree if you wanted to. 180 degrees, that's going to rotate around. 270 is like coming back to the other side. 90 is going to be clockwise. So that's how that works. You can flip, or you can just rotate one or the other. Very self-explanatory, as you're going to see while we work here.